Hello YouTube, and today we have a special antique device I have here from 1992. This was marketed in the US as the Zeos Pocket PC. Internationally, it was known as the Peacock PC or PS-1000 TidalWave. This particular, you'll notice that the FCCID on all of them will be the same. So it's this JSRPT 92001. And in that generation, a lot of these PCs were sub-licensed to the big manufacturers. What's amazing about this PC, even from today's standpoint, is that it is fully functional because it's solid state. There was nothing to corrode, everything is working, and it's got amazing battery life. But let's go through its paces first. The Zeos Pocket PC or the PS-1000 has basically a solid state drive. It has a MS-DOS 5 built into it. It has a older version of Microsoft Works. It has a whole bunch of utility programs, and most importantly, it comes with 640 megabytes of RAM, as well as the 384. Sorry, not megabytes. 640 kilobytes of RAM and 384 kilobytes of RAMdisk, which, as long as you keep the battery charged, will be able to store information and transfer off. Now, let me just show you the parts and pieces. So it's really compact at 1.3 pounds. And honestly, in Terminator 2, they showed the Atari portfolio, and this far exceeds that because Atari portfolio was RAM deprived and only ran on MS-DOS 3. On the back side, you can see that there's two slots for Type 1 PCMCIA cards. My understanding is that they only supported the original Type 1 static RAM, which is a very difficult card to find and is no longer reliable. So, and I think, I'm not sure if floppy options are available as well. It comes with a parallel port and serial port, but the caveat is it requires a proprietary connector. So these connectors, I happen to have the serial one, I don't have the parallel, but that's okay. Behind this lithium, it uses a standard CR2032 lithium battery. This is the emergency backup battery, and if your main batteries ran out of power, it would still keep your data alive for up to 30 days. And the amazing thing about this thing is that it's using AA batteries. So this is a device that's from 1992, which is now 30 years old. And you can take this out, throw in a couple batteries, and use it just like you could back in the original day and have the same battery life without a battery rebuild. The only caveat I will say is that the plastic is starting to get brittle and frail, so I'm always leery of forcing it in, but there you go. It's beautifully clicked in. Your two SRAM slots are here, and that's it. There are no other ports. At 1.3 volts pounds, it's very light. This is a contrast slider for the LCD screen, and it does accept the 9 volt DC in. I've actually tested this with a wall plug, so if you don't want to use AA batteries, you don't have to. But look, I'm using rechargeable AA batteries, so I really don't know if you really need to worry about that too much. Obviously, alkalines will last better. Now, this is the power of solid state RAMdisk in 2022. It's instant boot. So what you want to run is you want, when it boots up, on and off is just a click of a button, and you would go back into the main screen. Let's say I'll show you this program. One thing, if you are out of battery power, there you go, there's the main menu, and look at this. You can change the contrast. It's got multiple shades of gray, and it's running a NEC 8086 CPU at 4.77 megahertz. It's running 640 kilobytes of RAM, essentially 1 megabyte of solid state storage. which is super fast. What does it have that we can use? Well, look, let's take a look at this. Let me just contrast for you. Through the keyboards, you have rapid access. Filer is a file manager. Let's take a look at that. So this allows you to, if you don't want to use DOS commands at the time, you can use this. And then you have to remember Alt F and exit. It's basically a mini Norton commander. Planner is someone that it's really not useful in these days, but if you want to set up your schedule and make notes, you can type them up here, and that's a little PIM basically. File, exit. We have a to-do list, and these are all hard keys. It's basically a batch files that they're programming on this, so you can set up a to-do list on this. The phone book, remember back in the days when we actually had electronic phone books, it was so cool. And then you have down here, it's information. Let's see what that is. Ooh, look, it's got some standard information like international time zones, height and weight measurements. Basically, it's a mini program that they put into a shell. Calculator could be useful, right? 33 times 77, right? But these are just basically shell utilities. The most important and useful thing that can still be useful now is MS Works. You know, if you run this, you can still bring the files over to a modern PC. And oops, there you go. It takes a second to load. And for 8088, it's super fast. Let me see. And let me adjust the contrast for you. I don't know how well you can see it, but for example, we'll create a new file. We're going to do a word processor file. And let's save this, and let's save this as we're gonna call it maybe test file. Remember, DOS only accepted 8 characters, and that's a works file that can be brought into a modern PC for use. So if you want to make notes, and the other interesting thing with this device is that look at that keyboard. This feels like a really good spaced out keyboard. You look at the Atari portfolios or the chiclet keys on the equivalent HP LX series. None of the DOS Palmtops has an ergonomic keyboard as this one. In fact, I have a Libretto, and even that one doesn't have a keyboard as comfortable as this one for actual use. So this is a really good system. The only negative aspect I would say is that the screen with its 4-tone LCD is just not that great. Now, finally, how do you get data off and on this system? It's a real issue. Now, if you go to F10, go into setup, you have to make sure by default to save battery, it turns off the RS-232, the serial port. So you want to turn that on. Okay. Save and yes. Let's go back to the utility. You can actually get a full DOS shell, but they don't have all the DOS commands. Let me just show you this. So RP is their race pen, I think, is their batch file that brings up that menu that you just saw. I remember programming this back in the day. They have works on this file, and look, there's some storage space for you. 300 kilobytes of storage space. Let's go into D drive. D drive is the DOS drive. And it has a little bit of files there. These are all those little programs that you saw. It's got some printer drivers that are no longer relevant and some work stuff. C drive is the race pen directory, which is its menu. And there's not actually that much on C drive. But let's go back to the DOS directory. And you can see it's got a shortened version of DOS. You're not going to get all the DOS commands that you're used to. But most importantly, I never knew about this program until now, until I got this machine, which is interserver and interlink. So what is that? That's basically, I didn't realize that DOS had a basically built-in lap link program, and that's interserver. So how do we get this to work? How do we get files on off? Well, what you do is you plug the proprietary connector into a no modem cable. Okay, let's connect this sucker up. Let's not force it in case it's upside down, which it is. There you go, you heard that click. So we're gonna run inter server on this sucker. Okay, so it's ready to accept information. You will need a DOS capable PC, and in this case I have already go a Toshiba Pentium class CPU. What you want to do is you will have to add a line in configsys. So in configsys, you need to add this line: device equals cdos. You have to have DOS on this. DOS is the directory that interlink is stored in. Interlink.exe. So on the Palmtop, we're running the server. On this, we're running the interlink service. You need to put in two other things. No printer. Well, I'm not gonna share printers. You can share printers. That's not important. But more importantly, multiple drives, because otherwise, by default, interlink only searches for 3 drives. So A, B, and C, and then that's it. So it won't show you the drives that you need. So I just gave it a drive number of 6. Save the exit. Let's reboot the sucker. And luckily, DOS reboots are really quick, really easy, especially on a Pentium class machine, which is really designed for Windows 95. And you can see interlink runs, it's ready to go. You don't want to run interlink all the time. It actually slows down your system a bit. So only install that driver when you need it. And we're going to go into interlink. Oops. Make sure that a serial parallel is online. So it looks like it's ready to go here. Let's take a look at our server again. Maybe I turned off that option. Now to get out of interlink server, you go Alt F4, and we're going to go into race pen, which is RP. That brings up their batch system. I wonder if my link is good. Yeah, it feels solid. Null modem cables are good. So let's go back to the utility. I bet you I had inadvertently set up the RS-232 to off, and there you go. You see RS-232 is off here, so if no way that's going to work, let's switch that back on. We're going to quit, save, and then the screen dims a bit because that RS-232 port is drawing more power, and that's okay since we're using rechargeable batteries. Alkalines would obviously last longer, and they rated it for about 10 hours of active use time with 2 sets of alkalines. So let's try this again. And once we've done that, we need to do a hard reboot to run the interlink program. And we cross our fingers. And there you go. It now remapped the remote drives to here, and you can see if we go into G, that's the C drive inside the remote machine. D, and that's in ROM. So if you change anything on there, it will actually get wiped when the battery runs out. Oops, the one. H. This is the directory with all the works. Not much free space. It's got 1 megabyte of ROM files already on there. So they really splurged on memory back then. But look at this. This has 310 megabytes free. Let's see if my file saved. I think we called it test or something like that. Test file. So I'm going to manually copy test file.wps to my current C drive. And now I have transferred out a works document from a very old version. I think it's like works 1.0 into a modern PC, and then I can edit it and let's see if Windows runs. I don't know if I've installed the program that actually runs it. But this Pocket PC is very impressive in terms of its ability. It allows me to transfer a whole bunch of stuff from that generation. Oh, it's slow because the interlink is running. Look at all those drives. I didn't realize that Windows automatically recognizes it even better. And then on our C drive, I just copy that test file. And I'm afraid to say it probably won't be recognized because I have not installed works on this particular PC yet, so unfortunately it won't. Now let's try Notepad or something like that. See if it'll recognize the file. Let's see what a WPS works program looks like there. Ooh, yeah, you'll need to install a converters or the actual Word or something that can read it. But let's see if I can, in Windows, access those remote drives. And indeed you can. That's fantastic. Now, here's one last thing. What if we wanted to transfer something remotely over there? For example, a game or something. So we only have 360 kilobytes of storage to use, so we don't have a lot of space. But let's see if I have any DOS games that could fit in there. Oh, these are huge games. You're not going to fit Omega or Dune 2 or anything like that. Let me get a small DOS game in there. So what I've done is I've loaded up one of my compact flash cards here, external card with some DOS games, and let's see if we can transfer a small DOS game there. I think there was I think Family Feud was around that size. I'm not sure. Let's take a look at what we have here. Let's give it a try. There you go. It's copying over. Hopefully there's enough space for Family Feud to be transferred over to the classic Zeos Pocket PC. I probably should have just tried something smaller, you know. Let's see how big Family Feud is. I just forget. Let's right click properties on that. 224. Oh yeah, that should fit. So we're gonna give it I'm gonna pause this video for it to transfer because this is running at good old, what's it, 2400 baud or something like that there. Oh, maybe a little bit faster. So now, if truly everything has gone through, then we can disconnect interlink and try and run Family Feud on the other system. Yeah. Oh no. Oh yeah, that looks good. It's reasonable. I do wonder how I'm going to reboot the system though. But let's go back to our Zeos PC. Remember to leave this as Alt F4. Now that we're done our transfer, can potentially go back to the setup and turn off the serial port, which is using significant battery on a system that's running on AA's. And to run Feud, it's not in part of the DOS shell that they programmed, or the batch file, so we need to go F10, go to DOS shell, and it's in the E drive, I believe. Let's see if we can see that. And there's Feud. And this is the first time I'm running a game on this, so I know it's theoretically possible. Wow, look at all those programs. Look at all those files. I think it's an exe. And indeed it is. Wow. Family Feud running on a 8088 CPU from 1999. And this was a fun game, actually. I just played it recently and it's pretty good. So let's play one player. That's the end of my review. I'm just gonna play this for a little bit and just show you. Look at the 4-color grayscale. So it's even worse than CGA. Are you returning champions? No. We're gonna do test for our game. Out of 100 people surveyed, top 8 answers on the board. Okay, that's how you play Family Feud, sure. The average number of weight people lose, 50. The average number of weight people lose on successful diets. Let's say something like 15. Wow, there you go. People don't lose that many weight on diet. So let's play. The average amount of weight people lose. Mom's gonna say 10. Wow, there you go. We're doing well. And then the third brother, let's say 0. 1 strike. And then the next sister's gonna say 20. Oh, that's pretty good. Looks like they're happy. And finally, the boy says 5. There you go. Do we get to keep on going? I think it's 3 strikes before you Dad, what numbers did we not do? 15, 25. We did 0, 10, 15, 20, 25. Wow, we're gonna wipe this board. And Mom's gonna say 30. There you go. We have wiped this board. Family Feud. Fantastic. Now here's the problem. Family Feud had no way to quit this program. And I remember we had to do a Control-Alt-Delete. Let's see. Oh, it works. The standard Control-Alt-Deletes do work. And I haven't replaced the CR2032 battery, so that's why it's low. It's coming back online. Date, I don't even bother. Race pen program. Let's see if the RAMdisk survived the reboot. But yeah, poorly behaved programs like that. Let's see. Wow, look at that. Do you realize what happened? A hard reboot of this device killed the RAMdisk. And so Family Feud that I had transferred over was lost in the hard reboot. So my only point in this is that if you want to transfer something over, don't transfer a program that requires a hard reboot to exit, which is classically one of the problems of Family Feud. Anyways, thank you for watching. This is a little review of a rarely discussed and rare DAWs Palmtop. Just as a comparison, this is my Toshiba CDT notebook. And the size is actually, it's 1.3 pounds. It's the most important thing is that the keyboard response is really good. It almost feels mechanical, although I don't think they are from this generation. It's got some productivity software. It's got some wow factor and some real collectability to it there. And the other thing is with the RAMdisk, it's actually much faster than it appears. Instant on and off, unless you crash the system. There you go. And with easy access to replaceable batteries, you can actually use this on a daily or at least on a regular basis, unlike this huge, wonderful looking Toshiba with no active battery. And even when you did have the active battery, these guys would run what, 2-3 hours if you look at the PC Magazine reviews of the generation. This one really looks more like a tablet lifetime of 10 hours with 30 days standby if you have a CR2032 battery in there. So I think that if you are interested in Palmtops, if you don't have one of these, you should grab it. It's certainly way more useful than the underpowered Atari portfolio, and the keyboard is way better than the HP. I think it's the 95LX series, which is the equivalent Palmtops of the era. Thank you for watching and have a good day.